start. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the War Room. We have a special guest today. I'm super excited. A lot going on at the border, and we have the right man to answer all the right questions. Brother is the Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council, ART DEL CUETO. Brother, we thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. You are very respected. We're all across the nation. My mom, my whole family's excited. They're watching because they listen to you all the time, and we're excited for you to be on, brother.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. I really, really appreciate it, man. It means a big deal to me, especially, I do a lot of speaking events in a lot of areas, but I think the best part of the whole show or the best part of when I do appear in a lot of these, conventions is the Q&A. I don't think enough questions are being answered. And I find it disgusting that not enough guys want to answer the questions.
Exactly, people, bro. So real quick, before we dig into some of these good questions, we have a lot of them. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do there.
Okay, you're frozen. Hello?
Can you hear me now, brother?
I got you now.
Okay, so real quick, for everybody that don't know who you are, give us a little bit of your background and what you do there at the border.
So I am the Vice President of the National Border Patrol Council. I've been, out here for 18 years. Prior to this, I worked at a maximum security prison for the state. But I think most importantly, I grew up on the border. I was born in Mexico. I grew up on the border. I was raised on the border. I've lived my whole life on the border. I don't want to call myself an expert because I don't think, you can actually be an expert in a lot of things. But I can tell you that I know a lot more about the border than over 50% of the guys that I see talk about the border on national news.
Right. No, that's for sure, bro. That's for sure. That's why we're excited that you're on, because we know we got the right guy to answer right questions. Go ahead, brother Jesse.
Yeah, well, all right, brother. It's a good having you on, brother Art. Me and Art are good friends. We went several years ago. I think the last time I seen you was at the wall. That's why it's kind of funny that we're talking about the border right now, because we were at the wall symposium together. But what I wanted to talk to you about, brother, was that the left. I noticed that the left, they always try to vilify Border Patrol agents and ICE. Like even right here, I'm in LA, and whenever I'm driving by the freeways, I see all kinds of signs that say "Stop ICE" or "Go against ICE," like bad stuff. Like in the left, constantly, even over there in Portland, they were trying to burn down an ICE station and all that. So I saw, and as we all know, that a lot of, I think it's like, I don't know if it's 50%, but I know there's a high number of Border Patrol agents are Latinos, are fellow Latinos. So what are your thoughts on how the left always tries to vilify Border Patrol agents and ICE agents?
So Jesse, over 50% of the Border Patrol agents are Hispanic. That's a big percentage. And obviously, when you go through, what's funny is over 50% of Border Patrol agents are Hispanic, but I probably close to 80% of those are married to Hispanic women. So, that alone should boost the percentages up a little bit. But look, unfortunately, you do have, and it's percentage wise, and you can look it up, it's close to 1% of agents, and it's in all law enforcement. So it's 1% that is not cool, right? Let's be honest. I'm not going to sit here. I often tell people, look, I'm not Willy Wonka. I'm not here to candy coat anything. I'm here to tell you the truth and answer questions so people can know what's really going on. There is a percentage. It's 1%. It comes down to where of all law enforcement that is either corrupt or just messed up, and unfortunately, the media is going to put the big spotlight on that percentage, and it won't put the percentage on the guys that are actually out there doing the job. I mean, I've been out here my whole life out in Arizona. I represent the men and women, but at the same time, I still go out there and play an active role, and I defend the people that need defending. As a union guy, what we do is we make sure that there's a due process, but we don't sit out here and we defend guys that do something wrong. We don't defend guys that do that have criminal behavior, and that's what it comes down to. And at the end of the day, I mean, it, Jesse. Like what I do for my career, that's what 20, 25 years of somebody's life. That shouldn't define you. And I say that to even coworkers. Look, guys, like outside of work, you have your own lives. Don't let this be the one sole thing that defines you as a human being. I got a lot of other things, going on in my life that I think are that I love. I'm into motorcycles. I'm into, UFC. I'm into martial arts. So there's other things that make me, and I think when you get involved in law enforcement, you yourself put yourself in that bubble sometimes, and you just let law enforcement define you, and that's just not the way to live.
Exactly. That's why we mentioned it many times when we were defending the police and backing the blue and all that. And we said you shouldn't blame all for just a few, the bad actions for a few. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and we want to thank you and the rest of everybody, all the other agents, for doing it, because you guys are just doing your job. You guys are protecting our country, because we all know there's terrorists, there's drugs, cartels, there's sex trafficking, there's all kinds of other stuff going on right at the border. So we know you guys are just doing your job. And like I said, it's ridiculous for them to try to put that narrative, the race and all that stuff, when over 50% of the agents are Latinos, or you said I never even thought of that, but there are even other ones that are even married to Latinos.
That's
it's
right.
just ridiculous. So I just want to say that's ridiculous. But go ahead, brother Ricardo.
First of all, I want to thank you, Art, for being with us. We know that you're super busy with everything you guys got going on there, so we want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. It means the world, man. Because we really want to do something big here and really help people understand that we want to make a difference, and we want to be able to help you guys and be able to be a voice for you that the media is not portraying. So my question to you is this, Art. I was talking to my brothers, to A-Rod and to Jesse earlier. My question, I said, I really want to know what this question, what the answer to this is. But I watched the video, and it was a border patrol agent. There's a gap in the wall. It's right. It looked like it was maybe 80 feet gap, if not more. No. He's 6 foot. No, it had to have been 100 feet gap. And there was a family walking up. He goes up to them. He brings them in, and they put them automatically in vans. They were not there to cross in a bad way. Like, they already knew where to go. They knew where to go. They knew where to meet. They knew they were not going to be met with any type of objection. Can you explain to us, maybe sometimes the videos are not selling the full story? Because obviously we know that, because the left loves to use videos and cut them up and make them push a narrative. I don't want us to do that. So my question to you is, first of all, why is that gap open? I'm assuming it's because Biden didn't, stopped it. That's number one. I'm going to assume that, but I'm going to let you answer that for us. And number two is, why did they come in with so much ease? Was it pre-planned? Was it they already knew they were coming? Were they expecting them? What's going on here that we're not realizing at the border?
All right, I'm gonna get comfortable for this answer. How much time are you gonna give me to answer this question?
Long
answer.
Go ahead.
All right, anyone else that's watching, grab your cup of coffee, because we're in for one heck of a night. I'll be here all night. You got me for the next 8 hours, and I could talk, let me tell you.
All right, I know. Hey, I know you could talk, brother. I remember at the Wall Symposium.
All right, so this is what the deal is, bro. We're getting inundated by unaccompanied children. We're getting inundated by family units. These family units, they already know where the gaps are. They know where to go, because you have the punteros, which is the spotters on the Mexican side. They know the areas. They know where the gaps are. So what they do is they send these individuals through those gaps just to turn themselves in, knowing full well that right now, as long as they don't have a prior criminal history, what they do is they get set up with an asylum date, because they're all claiming asylum. except for the unaccompanied children. They're here. They all have numbers already of where to call, where their families are, where their parents are, or family members in the U.S., or at least that's who they say it's their family units, family members. One of the issues I have with that is you don't know if these kids are being brought across for sex traffic, which happens. I know a lot of people, the radical left, want to say it's not true, it's not happening. Look, I've been here my whole life. I'm going to tell you right now, it's happening. So if you hear anyone say different, they're welcome to come down here. I'll give them a border tour myself and show them that it's happening and the areas that is happening. So these people, they already know where to come through. Those gaps are there because that's where the building of the wall stopped. And it's in areas of Texas. It's in areas of Arizona. It's even down south in New Mexico. But most importantly, there's different avenues that a lot of the media is not reporting. So as an example, you gave me a very specific question because of something that you have visually seen. And I think a lot of the country has seen that, the groups coming through the gaps, turning themselves in, knowing fully well that they're never going to have to leave because they just are not going to show up to court. And I'll get back on that one. But one of the things that people need to be alert and people need to know is, for instance, the Tucson sector, which happens to be the largest sector in the country right now. There are individuals that are entering the country illegally, and they are not turning themselves in as you would see in Texas or in California or in New Mexico. In the Tucson sector, we have what is called runners. So people that are, they're still trying to enter and evade apprehension. They come in through nighttime, daytime, all hours of the day and night. They wear what's called carpet shoes. So they put carpet on their feet. They tie them up. That way, when they enter, it doesn't leave that much of a footprint on the dirt, and it's harder to track them. So what's amazing is you're seeing the unaccompanied juveniles. You're seeing the family units inundate areas of Texas, inundate areas of New Mexico, and some parts in Arizona, basically around Yuma. But in the Tucson sector, it's the number one area in the entire country. And they're not focusing on that, and they don't even want to talk about it. It's the number one area in the entire border that leads in gotaways. Those are people that have entered this country that you did not apprehend, that you do not know their intentions, that you don't even know where they're from or what they're trying to do. And even beyond that, I'm going to give you the number of how many gotaways were in Tucson sector as of Friday, right? That number is obviously bigger now. So on Friday, we had year to date 40,000 gotaways just in this sector alone. 40,000. Now, keep in mind, that number is a guesstimate. They're guessing because they don't know how many it is that actually came through. And as an example, I've been out on groups where you can say it's 20, and what you do is you say 20 plus. So if you see a lot of footprints, you just say 20 plus because you know it's over 20, right? Just from the years of being out here. If you don't catch that group, that's going down as 20 gotaways. But I can tell you, I've personally seen people continue to go after these 20 plus, and it ends up being a group of 40, a group of 60, 60 plus. So when people tell me, and when you see the statistic of 40,000 gotaways, I'm going to tell you that is just a guess, and I guarantee you it's a lot more than that. That's just in Tucson sector. That's one sector.
Well,
number one in the country. Number two would be Del Rio, Texas, right? So now we're going to talk about Texas. They're number two with around 17,000. So that's a big gap. But all the media is focusing on is the unaccompanied juveniles and the unaccompanied family members that are turning themselves in, when realistically, in my personal opinion, right, it's just mine, I think we should be more scared of the 40,000 that entered, and we don't know who they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, brother. you know, I was having a conversation, and I don't know how much you were going to agree with this, but I was having a conversation with a couple of people on this subject, and I told them, I said, the issue isn't your Uncle Juan that wants to come mow lawns.
No.
It's the issue is that we don't know if terrorists are coming in. We don't know if sleeping cells from the Taliban, Al-Qaeda are coming in. We have no idea if Chinese spies are coming in. That's the issue. But the media wants to make it seem like it's just your Tío Juan that wants to come mow lawns. It's not just your Tío Juan. But you know, that was just my reasoning with some people. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
No, I agree with you 100%. You know, one of the big things that I always put down on my Instagram page and a hashtag is illegal is not a race. Plain and simple, man. That's how it is. Illegal is not a race.
Very true. Thank you for answering my question. I appreciate it, brother.
No, thank you, man.
So, brother, speaking of priors, right? You were saying that the ones that come in that you don't know if they have priors. Let's talk about the ones that do have priors. Now, off the bat, coming in without being legal is a federal offense, right? We know that, but we want to talk about the ones that had a prior to crossing the border. Now, I'm speaking just for here in California. I'm seeing, from what I'm aware of, and our producer, he works at a federal detention center. They stopped taking people in. I think right there, they're only at 20% capacity, and I know other places here in California are not at full capacity. So my question is, where are they putting these detainees? If we see that, like Ricardo said, we're not worried about Juan, but we're worried about little puppet from MS-13 or whoever else, right? That's what we're worried about.
Right.
So where are they going? If they catch these detainees, if they catch them and they have priors, are they just releasing them? Or where are they putting them? Because we're not seeing these detention centers are being filled up, at least here in California, they're not.
So if you're getting some of these individuals, it depends on the prior, right? If you get priors, obviously, they go through the process and they send them back, specifically priors. But it also depends on, say there's a warrant, like a DUI warrant or something to that effect. You got to contact, how can I explain it? So say you got a male with a child, that's considered a family unit. They come across, you can run their record. If he has certain priors that they don't deem as, you know, top priority priors, or if they have a warrant, they'll contact the agency that has the warrant out. If the agency can't come out, say they got a warrant out of Tennessee.
Right.
Sometimes Tennessee's going to say, well, we can't come out and get them. So those individuals, you know, they go through the same process as the other family units. And, you know, more than likely they get set up with a date if they're asking for asylum, and they don't show up for asylum. Let me be clear with that, because I know you're going to get a lot of people from the left that are going to argue with you. And I want you guys to be properly educated on how you can come back at them. They're going to tell you they do show up for court.
Right.
This is how it works. You have an individual that puts in for an asylum case. He gets his case finally heard, and they say, you know what? You don't qualify for asylum. You just don't qualify. But we're going to let you go home and give you a week before you turn yourself in, or 2 weeks or whatever time it is, so you can get all your affairs in order. And once you get your affairs in order, then can you kindly come back and turn yourself in so we can deport you? 99% don't show up.
That's what I was going to ask you. What's the percentage on that? Basically, nobody shows back up,
1%. 1% shows up.
Whew.
Now, I don't know why that 1% is showing up.
Right. Yeah, because that's the problem that people are having, is like Ricardo said, it's not that we're having a problem, because we know that people want to come over here for a better life, and we know that people want to come over here for the American dream. But at the same time, a lot of American people are nervous because they hear all these stories of what's going on in sanctuary cities and what goes on in California, and then they're seeing all these people, like Ricardo said the video earlier, where it looks like it's planned, and we're just sitting here like, we're looking at these detention centers, they're not full, so we're like, where are these people going? I guess they're not showing up, and they're just going back into population.
Right. So I'll be honest, I'm very, very pro immigration.
Right.
But I'm not pro illegal immigration, and that's a word that's so hard for people to talk. I mean, even you talk to the major news networks, they don't use the word. They say immigrants coming to the country. Well, there's a big difference between legal and illegal. I mean, we got to face that. And I've said it many times before. I don't lock my doors at night because I hate the people outside. I lock them because I love the people inside, and it should be the same for our nation's borders. You know,
Amen.
just recently in Tucson sector, they were getting people from Pakistan, from Yemen. You don't know what those people's intentions are when they come into the United States. I mean, they may be good intentions, but it's similar to all of you there. You know, at night when you go to bed, you lock your front door. And if it's not locked in the daytime, I mean, it may be unlocked, but you expect whoever comes to your house to knock on your door. And then you make the decision whether you want to open up that door and let them in or not. And I know you guys are all Hispanic, so I know half of you guys look through the window first. And if it's somebody selling stuff, you say, hey, no, don't make any noise. They'll think no one's home.
Right.
But it's your decision. It should be your decision at your home. It should be the right decision makers at the nation's borders.
Exactly, bro. I'm glad that you're saying it. Somebody that's on the ground, because a lot of times we do about it. And these are awesome questions. They're giving the tools. Anybody watching, this guy's giving you the tools, the statistics, and he's on the ground. So thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Go ahead, brother Jess.
Thank you.
All right, brother. I got a little two-part question. First, I wanted to ask you about the asylum. Like, I don't understand how could all these, because it seems like they're being coached over there by the leftists, activists,
Correct.
and all that. Because I don't know how all these people, they're automatically, most of them claiming asylum when they're not even, there's not even a genocide and stuff, wars and stuff going on in their own country. So for one, how are they able to come and claim asylum? And then the second question is, I seen report that there was over 1,000 in Texas discovered that had COVID. So I want to know what's going on with the illegals coming in. Are they getting COVID tested, or what's going on?
Very, very good questions, Jesse. Dang it, man. I thought you were going to throw me a softball. No softball.
I thought those were my brother.
Man, you must be a Dodger fan. Nothing but fastballs.
You know it. You know it.
Tight. So, look, when it comes to the first part of your question, you got these people coming into the country, obviously, and it's a big issue. Something needs to be done. So the problem is they'll claim asylum, but so when they come in, I can't make the determination on an asylum case, right? I have to do the paperwork, refer them to an asylum officer. Then the asylum officer has to refer them to an immigration judge that actually gets to see the case to see if it's valid or not valid. I don't want to just say that's the problem. I need to say what the solution is. I think we have the solution, just nobody wants to do it. Hire more immigration judges, put them on the line. That's where you have the immigration problem, and have them streamline and look at these cases right away as they're coming into the country. Then you can look at the case, you can determine whether it's an asylum case or not, and if they're not, you can turn them back at the door, as opposed to giving them a year and a half before you see their case. And then when you do see their case, by then they have some roots in America, and then you say, well, I'm going to give you another 2 weeks to, have your affairs in order, and they don't show up. It just makes more sense to put them there on the actual border so they can be looking at the cases directly and know what's asylum and what's not. Now, I will tell you this. You made a very good point. A lot of these individuals that are claiming, and I've heard it from a lot of the radical left politicians, they're saying that there's issues in their country, there's persecution, and there's all kinds of bad things happening in their country. But I'm going to ask you and the people that are watching, have you guys seen them put any sanctions on these countries? So
that's what I'm saying.
If that country's got all those issues and they're mistreating their population, then why hasn't America put any sanctions on them if it's to that level? And that's always what really hits me. Now, the COVID part, look, I think a lot is still new on the COVID, but a lot is things that people already know, and it's a common sense thing. We know that there's symptomatic and there's asymptomatic. Symptomatic, you can see their symptoms. Asymptomatic, you don't know, and they could be carriers, but you just don't know. People are not being tested as they enter our country illegally. People are not being tested as they turn themselves in and ask for asylum, and there's a reason behind that. I know it's crappy, but I mean, to be honest, if you're a United States citizen and you have symptoms and you go get tested, what do they tell you? They don't keep you in the hospital. They don't keep you. They say, hey, you know what, go home, feel better, whatever it is. So that's actually what would be happening with some of these individuals that are being detained at the same time, except they're being put in a holding cell. But the scary part is there's a number of people that are asymptomatic. You don't know if they have COVID, and they're being released within the United States. Now, because you guys are all in California, right? I mean, every single one of you guys in Cali?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we fall under kind of different rules because of we fall in the Ninth Circuit Court, which does things a little different. So since there've been lawsuits and a bunch of pushes on different areas that have been looked at in just the Ninth Circuit Court, the detention facilities for the states that are in the Ninth Circuit, and that's Arizona and California, they've been shrunk to almost half of what you were able to detain in those facilities before. So what has happened is a lot of these individuals that we detain, they look into individuals like private entities. I know there's a company called Casas Alitas. There's also different Catholic services that are stepping up to the plate, and they're taking these individuals in. But then what happens is they find a family member or somebody that says they're a family member, and that's where the problem is. And then they turn them over to them. And 9 times out of 10 in those instances, they don't call immigration when a family member comes to pick up these children or takes care of these family units.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with what you said. I remember Trump was trying to do that, bro. About the judges. Trump was trying to get some extra judges for the exact point that you made, and that's just too bad that they didn't get it done. But go ahead, Ricardo.
Well, you know what? Before hold on, before you go there, some of the policy that worked under President Trump was obviously the Remain in Mexico, and this is something that people need to think of. When we had the Remain in Mexico program, which was unaccompanied children or family units that were trying to come in, you had to wait in Mexico for your asylum case to be actually looked at and heard. Right? That way, It would just be easier. You don't have to have them roaming around and have to deport them later, or have them not show up realistically. So during that. The Remain in Mexico policy, the numbers were low, super low. Now, why was that? Was that because people were not being, mistreated in their country? Or was that because now the majority are false claims to asylum? I'll go with there's false claims to asylum.
Me too.
Right.
Exactly. Go ahead, Ricardo. Wait, I can't hear you, Ricardo.
Notes on this?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
I got you now.
Yeah, I'm literally taking so many notes because it's we don't know a lot of these facts, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's insane. Like I'm a big note taker. I'm big on that because I like to have these numbers off the top of my head. So I had another question that I wanted to ask you. When it comes down to whenever they're doing the asylum cases, okay, and let's say this is the case, I heard was it Tom that was the ex-director of ICE, Tom
Homan.
Yes. So my question to you is, let's say they do go through the process, right, and they go through the asylum process. What determines if they're able to stay for seeking asylum, or if they have to go because they were not approved? What determines either or?
So the asylum judge, he's going to look at every single thing they have to say, right? They have to, at that point, they really have to prove actual factual information that they've gone through those issues, and that's part of the problem. To be honest, is when the asylum officer looks at it, it's just just rinky dink, and that's why when they have to come back and they actually determine, hey, your case is just not good. And I can tell you right now that a high percentage of it, their reasoning is financial. That's a high percentage. Is I can't get a job. They're not hiring in my area. There's just different things. So that's really, I mean, it's a financial reasoning, you know, which, I mean, we have people here for financial reasons. And when they look at that has a big factor. And some of them, they don't have the right situation credentials, or they fail to produce them. But that's the same reason why they just don't bother showing up to the court case.
That makes sense, because they know it's not a valid reason.
Yeah. So if they know it's not valid, you know, they just don't bother showing up. But it's like, you know, put it this way. I look at it like speeding, right? Like, I know none of you guys speed, and you guys all drive the speed limit.
Never. Law-abiding citizens.
Just so you know, there's human beings out there that drive faster than the speed limit. Now, I'm going to tell you why they drive faster than the speed limit. Because they don't care, and they want to get from point A to point B quick. However, when they see a cop, they slow down. Not because they're scared of crashing the car, not because they're scared of losing control of the vehicle. They slow down because they're scared of getting pulled over and having to pay a fine. Right. That's why they're scared of. So if they take away the consequence for your criminal behavior, then you really don't care about the criminal behavior. And I think that's what it comes down to. So with illegal immigration, if they're being told, hey, there's a bunch of loopholes that's going to probably prevent you from getting deported and allow you to stay here, then what would prevent them from committing the crime? President Trump, with rhetoric alone, lowered the numbers astronomically. Why? Because they said, if I commit this, one, I'm going to get called on the carpet for it. And two, there's going to be consequences for my actions. But now when you tell people, hey, we're back to the same old, come in, claim asylum, and you're going to get released in the United States, what does that cause? Now it's caused high numbers to go up. And the numbers are higher than they've ever been. This is February. We're in March, I'm sorry. And the numbers they were higher in February than they've ever been. The summer months are coming. Unless they come up with policies, it's going to get worse. And that's why I have a real hard time when I hear people say, is it a crisis? Is this not a crisis? Can you go ahead and say it's a crisis? Okay, if I say it's a crisis, what difference does it make? Right. Politicians need to stop talking about what to call it, what new cliche, what new hashtag they can put on their social media, and realize we have a problem and it needs to get fixed. We had policies from the last administration that worked. They're no longer in place, and that's why we have a problem. The people that are in office right now, this administration, they own this problem.
Thank you so much for answering my question. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
What's up, bro? So, yeah, I had a question, but you know what? I'm going to go on this the AOC thing, because that really bothers me about that, and how, like you just said right now, how politicians have manipulated what's going on. And it was sad because everybody's seen that video of everybody wearing those Biden shirts, right? Everybody's seen that video of them Biden shirts. And a lot of these people that are recorded, they're being honest, right? They were being honest. They were like, hey, the media told me that once that guy's out and this guy's in, there's going to be a big old door that was just going to welcome us right in. Now, from the time when Trump was there, and we've seen AOC crying at the border, or we've seen all these people doing this, and I'm sure you've seen this. Have you seen a huge change of how silent these politicians are now, and how much they're not trying to travel down there? I mean, I see McCarthy went down there, but I'm talking about the leftists. Have they went oddly silent? Have they contacted anybody down there saying they want to do this, or is it just they've just backed off and completely?
So, man, I got to be careful what I say, because I got in trouble when I mentioned AOC last time on NRA TV. She wasn't happy. So, look.
You got to say no names.
I just did, though, Jesse. I already
Hey, just call her Bart. Just say the bartender. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go. So when she was down at the one of the detention facilities before, right? I got to explain to you. So the detention facilities, next to the bathroom, there is the water fountain. It's one of those one-piece things. I don't know if you guys have seen it before. But it's a stainless steel. It's a one-piece. So when she was there, I believe one of the undocumented immigrants asked one of the agents, "Hey, I need water," and the agent responded in Spanish, and he said, "Está en el baño, hay agua en el baño," and explaining that there's a fountain there, a water fountain. En el baño hay agua, and in her Spanish, she understood it as the agent, and she blew up Twitter with it, and she started saying that the agent was telling this poor immigrant to drink water out of the toilet, which is just maybe her poor understanding of the Spanish language didn't let her understand exactly what was going on. But we haven't had really individuals. I guess when the kids in cages, they were talking about that during the Trump administration, and I can tell you right now, you're going to hear it directly from me. Kids were being placed in holding facilities that were caged areas, right? But there were huge caged areas like rec area, because that's when we were having a huge number of unaccompanied juveniles coming back in the country. All that was happening during the Obama administration, not during the Trump administration. So that's something that people don't want to talk about, but they sure want to use those old pictures and put it on Trump. And I can tell you, I looked at those areas back when that was happening, and a lot of these individuals that were coming, they were from Central America. There were different ages. So what was going on there is they were separating the kids depending on the ages and putting them in different holding centers. It was back, and I'm bad with the number, but I know it was during the World Cup, because we had big TV screens inside the holding cells, and all the kids were involved looking at the World Cup games. There was nurses there at all times, and what was different was they would all carry little papers with a phone number already with them, so they knew who to call in the United States. So that was all happening during the Obama administration. And what the agency had to do was they had to place plywood. I don't know what the age group of the people that are watching the show, but I'm just going to go ahead and just tell you guys exactly what was happening. There was kids giving sexual favors to other kids through the chain link fence.
What?
And that was from a lot of the Salvadorians and Guatemalan kids and Honduran kids. Within a couple of days of them being detained in these areas, there was a lot of bullying, a lot of sexual harassment amongst the kids, amongst themselves. That was a daily occurrence. They were having to separate these kids. They were putting plywood in between the separation because of the exchanges that were going on through the chain link fence. Within a day, they carved out through the plywood so they can continue their shenanigans through this. And I've said this before, and people have heard me, guys, and they get upset with me, and they say, "How can you speak about those kids?" Look, man, like, I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and Jesse, I know you can relate. I mean, we come from I come from a well-to-do family, but I was hanging out with a rough crowd because I just wanted to rebel, and I'll be honest about it. But a lot of these kids that are coming from Central American countries that are coming in unaccompanied, a lot of these 16 and 17-year-olds, at least that's what they're claiming to be. They look more like 30, but they're claiming to be 16 and 17 that are coming into the country. They're not like regular kids that have grown up in the United States in suburban America. And you see a lot of these suburban kids that are out there protesting. You see a lot of these moms in suburban neighborhoods that are protesting and saying, this is wrong, and open the borders. And if they saw some of these individuals that are crossing, and I don't mean to talk bad about them, but because some of them they're underage, but they're not your Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox kids. These kids have seen it rough. They're involved with rough individuals. I honestly believe, I know one of you mentioned the sanctuary cities. What that has done is that has created a magnet to enrich cartels, to enrich criminal organizations. And it's happening underneath our noses with a lot of these individuals that they don't care about this country. They have no allegiance towards this country. They will never have an allegiance towards this country. They have an allegiance toward the cartels that they work for, the gang enterprises that they work for. And we're allowing that to happen based on fake policies, false policies, failed policies, and individuals that really don't understand what's really happening in our nation's borders. That's the reality of what's happening right now. And we're losing a big war. I have young children. I feel bad for my children. I was just coming from El Paso. I was seeing how bad some of those detention facilities are. I was driving back into town with a coworker, and we were going back and forth, and we're saying, don't people understand? Like, they want to use stupid little words like woke. They're not woke. They're more blind than they've ever been, and they don't understand that. I don't want to sound like this fearmonger, guys. I don't want to sound like this conspiracy theorist, but I see it every day. I see how bad it is. I'll see how we're losing in our communities. We're losing in our school systems. We're losing on our issues on the border, and it's all based on this false ideology. Where the Grammys were on last night. I didn't watch it, but you got two girls up on a bed, half naked, singing a song called WAP, and we all know what that's about. But you're gonna sit here and you're gonna attack Speedy Gonzalez, Peter Pan, and Dumbo?
Exactly.
Man, these people need to really wake up.
No, you're right, bro. And you just, you brought something to my attention, because as a parent, I'm always telling my kids, watch who you hang out with. If you see something that's wrong, let me know. If somebody makes you uncomfortable, you can't go hang around with this family. You can't go do this. And you never think to yourselves that the kids who you're feeling sorry for at the border could be doing these things. These are some of the same kids, and I'm not saying all the kids, but these are the same kids, some of the same kids we would tell our kids not to hang out with. Correct. We would say they're doing bad things. So you open my eyes to that, because, and it's not all of them. I know we have family members at the church who I met that have come over, and they're beautiful families throughout the years. But at the same time, it all makes sense. And I'm glad you're talking about it, because they can give you a hard time, but real is real. We don't live in some Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, fairy dust world. This is real life.
No, it definitely is, man. And look, I'm Hispanic, bro. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I've done something in my life, and people always say, well, don't forget where you came from. I haven't forgotten where I came from. I don't want to go back where I came from, It's all about making yourself better. It's about, having a future for your children that's better. I have a nice house. I got a good career. I got good things that I like to buy. I have tastes in certain things. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm Hispanic, and I'm proud to be Hispanic. And that's, I think, how you grow. I've spoken in events at universities, and I've had protesters there that call me vendido, call me, anything you can think of. But I'm sitting here going, what a better way to show yourself as a Hispanic than to flourish and become better and be a true example to your race, be a true example to the people that are trying to make themselves better, and say, hey, you know what? The same 24 hours a day that you have are the same 24 hours a day that I've had. And I've made mistakes. I'm far from perfect. But you know what? I don't make a habit out of my imperfections. And I pay attention to what's going on, and I try to better myself. And at the end of the day, when I'm at home, I still like to eat rice and beans, bro. That's my favorite still. Beans more than rice.
It's funny that you bring that up, Art, because see, I'm from. You're familiar with you're familiar with a lot of the organizations in Mexico, right? So I'm just going to give you an idea. I'm from Naranjo de Chila, Michoacán, Mexico, which is right next to Atzingan.
I know where that's at.
Okay, that's where I'm from, right? So I actually went to school in Mexico. It was like a year here and there. My dad living in Mexico, so I went to school in Mexico. By the time we were 15 years old, not only do I, and I don't say this with pride, but it is what it is, because we're having a very open conversation. Not only do I come from a family that's dedicated, a good portion of my family has been dedicated to illicit things on a big scale, not on a small scale.
Right.
And a lot of my 15 and 16-year-old cousins, by the time that we were 15, 16, they were already halcones, and they were already sicarios. A 16-year-old in Mexico, where I'm from, and a 16-year-old here that locks themselves up and plays Fortnite all day.
That's right.
See, it is funny that you were just saying that because the kids in Mexico where I grew up, they're so much more, as we would say in Mexico, están más pilas. They're more listos.
Sí, más trucha, más trucha.
Más trucha. These kids are not, these guys are not, they're full-grown men at 16, 17 years old, which, by the way, I'm not fully regretful of it because it made me who I am today.
That's right.
I had to be on my toes because I come from a family. You better be on your toes, or you're gonna die, go to prison, or you're done. Right. So, but I see things funny because people say they think, and I tell everybody, listen, you know, and I'm saying this on a public forum. I know some of the people that are using the border and what they're using it for. You don't know what they're doing. I said, you don't know what they're doing. Like, you have no idea. And by the way, I said, hey, you know what's crazy? You guys don't like drugs and all this. Según ustedes, you guys don't like drugs. I said, but you know what? Every time you say open borders, it's just music to the cartel's ears.
Yes, it is.
It's music. And they're sending their people over here. They just did in Chicago, they just did a sweep. And it was a Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación. They did by the way, it's the second time they do that on Michoacanos. The first one, it was 300 people con la familia Michoacana here in California. And the second time was in a lot of people don't know the Cartel de Jalisco Nueva Generación. The originator, they're from Michoacán. They're not from Jalisco, right?
Yeah.
So
Del Mencho.
La gente del Mencho. So or Menchiza, as they would call it. There were 600 of them caught in Chicago. Like, how did they get there? How did they connect? A lot of people, like, they're just thinking about, you know, I've got told that, well, if you know, that's how your parents got here. Yeah, but it doesn't, like, I get that. And you wouldn't be here if it wasn't. But you know what? If I was in Mexico, people aren't starving in Mexico. Have you never visited Monterrey, Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, Guadalajara? I would have been fighting Mexico. Like, people are not, it's not a fourth world country. It's a second world country. Right. Like, people are living fine over there. I have yet to have any family member die of starvation in Mexico, and they all live pretty decent. So you know, like, stop it. Stop with that narrative. You know what I mean? But it's just crazy. Just to back up your point a little bit, I live there. My cousins are there. I mean, they're there. My family, my uncles are there, and it's no joke. It's these 16-year-old kids are not, the 16-year-old girls are not looking to be part of the cheerleading squad. They're dating already at 16 years old. They're not. Están pilas. Están prendidas. Están. You know, they're ready to go. So that's the issue that a lot of people don't seem to understand. That these people, I don't want to say these people because I am those people. The way we're raised in Mexico, it's not the same way that people are raised here.
Yeah, and I tell that to people.
Very involved.
They don't get it. They don't get it. And I said that same comments that you just said before. And then if you look at some of that, so I've said it on Fox, I've said it on CNN, Al Jazeera, I've done it on all the major news, and you always get somebody to comment and say, oh, look, big bad Border Patrol guy, he's scared of a 16-year-old. Man, I'm going to tell you that whoever's commenting on that 16-year-old will take your lunch money. And you don't even know he took it.
And they will laugh at you. They'll spit at you and laugh at you after they're done with your ass.
Hey, but there's even some over here, bro, because I did time in the youth authority, and that's over here in America, and that's full of kids. And all those kids there's murderers, robbers, all type of bad old kids. That's what made me bad. I was bad. What'd you say?
The paisas in the correctional system.
Oh, man. Yeah,
that's what they call it, the paisas.
Yeah, there's a lot too. They have their own car. There's so many of them, the BBs.
So I'll tell you, like out here in the Tucson sector, because I told you before in Arizona, I used to work at a prison. The largest facility of incarcerated individuals, at least in Arizona, the large facilities were at that time were people that were from Mexico that were not here, not the Mexican Americans, the Chicanos. It was actually, you know, the people that were here illegally, that they call them paisas. You know, I mean, paisas. You mentioned the BB, the Border Brothers. You know, everyone knows. I mean, I don't know. I do, I guess, because of where I grew up. But the large facilities were those individuals. And it's horrible because we get categorized as Hispanics, and it's like, oh, well, you're horrible and it's against your people. I had one individual years ago that said, hey, how do you feel about arresting your own people? Right? Somebody. And I said, I'm not arresting my own people. You know what I mean? My own people are as the human race, we're all a human race. So when I get asked, how do you feel of arresting your people? I always said, you mean somebody from Mexico? Like, that's who just my own people is? So I've always told them, well, when you go to Mexico and you get pulled over by a Mexican federale, why don't you ask him how he feels about taking money from his own people?
Right?
How far is that question going to go, guys? I mean, you were up in Mexico. How far are they going to go with that question, brother?
Exactly. And that's a good one. Another thing, too, is everybody knows I did time in prison. So did Ricardo. You know how many illegals were in prison with me? They're like the same population with the American Latinos. They're like the same deep. Like you said, they had their own cars, the Border Brothers, the Paisas. That's how deep they are, that there was so many Paisas, Border Brothers, or whatever, illegals in prison. I seen them. I was in there with them. There's so many of them, but they try to, like you said, they always try to only show the kids coming through, or they're trying to Uncle Juan and all that. That's true, there is, but there is a lot, because I'm telling you, I know Ricardo was, we were in prison with a lot of them. So it isn't all Uncle Juan's coming through there.
No, and I'll tell you what, Jesse, I think you bring up a fantastic point, because one of the arguments that I always hear is, hey, there's criminals in America. I know that. We all know there's criminals in America. That doesn't mean I want to import some more.
Right.
Hey, man, my brother, that's true. Another thing I want to talk to you about, what's going on? Because I know the fake media, and that they stay away from this like the plague. They don't even want to talk about the rapes and the sex trafficking and all that going on the border. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, because like I said, the fake media, they don't want to go touch nowhere near that subject.
Well, yeah, it's like we were saying earlier, there's a lot of things. The media wants to concentrate on what they want to concentrate and the visual, right? Obama said it. Obama said it when he was president. He said, look, we want to be able to figure out what to do with the people that are in the shadows of America. So he was very much aware that there was people in the shadows of America. And, you hear the DACA, the DAPA. That wasn't a fix. That was just a Band-Aid. And you have a lot of politicians that use little trigger words. So the Hispanic community can say, oh, well, look, he cares about me. That's why he mentioned me. That's why he's saying me. No, man, it's just a Band-Aid, because if they continue to say, hey, you need me and I'm going to help you, but these guys won't let me help you, then what those people do is they continue to voting for them, because they say, well, he's going to help me eventually, and he's saying he's going to help me. He may never help you, and he gives you little Band-Aids. I mean, let's be honest. What was DACA? DACA was a little Band-Aid. That it wasn't a law. It wasn't something that it would stand moving forward. It wasn't a real status. And the same thing was happening with a lot of individuals that were here illegally. And when they said, hey, if you catch them before January of some time, then, you just release them back into the shadows of America. Well, how does that help? That's ridiculous. You have a lot of media out there that unless they can show it and they can see it, they don't want to really push it. They don't want to push their story. And you know what, Jesse? It's on both sides. Because as I said earlier, everyone's talking about the unaccompanied children and the family units, because you can see them. They're there. They got video. But I don't think anybody is talking about, like I just said, the 40,000 just in one sector. I want you guys to know that's not across the country. That's in one sector. You could even trim it down and say it's probably in 100 linear miles with the border, where you have over 40,000 people that they know of that entered illegally, and they don't know what their intentions are, and they don't know who they are. Now, you can't show that visual, obviously, because those people came in undetected. And so if you can't see it, there's no visual, they don't want to talk about it. And those are some of the issues. That's why I'm grateful for you guys doing what you're doing. I mean, this is fantastic. Jesse, I met you a couple of years ago in Phoenix. at a Turning Point USA event, right away, I think you and me clicked. We hit it off. You know, we knew what we knew what was going on, and we had that vibe. And I bless you guys for doing this, man. I think it's a fantastic thing that you're doing it. I myself, for some time, I got my own podcast. I got picked up through iHeartRadio and through Spotify, and I talk about all. So it's a weekly thing, and I talk about all the issues constantly. I have a big target on my head, obviously, because of the people I've endorsed politically. Because on this show that I have, it's called The Green Line. Right, so it's like the blue line. I call it the green line. It's on Spotify. It's on iHeartRadio.
The green line.
And if you see it, sometimes I myself, I'll talk about the bad managers within my own agency.
Right.
I don't shy away from that. You know, I'm not going to sit here and just say, oh, these people are bad, those people are good. No, and at the end of the day, my stance is border security. Now, I believe there's people on both sides of the aisle that are for border security. You just need to stand up and talk about it. Illegal is not a race. Border security doesn't affect just one political party. But, aside from that, I'm big on the Second Amendment. And I hear people, law enforcement doesn't want you to own a gun. Guys, I'm big on the Second Amendment. And I think people should have the right to defend themselves. And I think it's absolutely ridiculous that you have politicians out there that say, I want open borders, so I want people that I don't know their intentions, I don't know their criminal records in their country, to be able to come in the United States and not be checked out. Oh, and on a side note, I want the American citizen not to be able to defend himself in case something happens with those individuals. That is the most ridiculous thing you could ever think of. But that's pretty much what these politicians are saying. So I stress on it weekly on my show, man, because I think the word needs to spread out. People need to be aware. And you guys, I think, are a fantastic example, man. Hats off to you guys. You guys are a great example because you guys are saying, hey, look, this isn't your normal conservative person that has values and cares about the future of our country. You guys are doing a fantastic job. And I honestly, I praise you guys for what you guys are doing, man. Thank you.
That's what we feel. Better, who better to reach Latinos than other Latinos, especially like us, me, Ricardo, all of us. We're just everyday Latinos. We're not all. We're from the barrio. You know what I mean? We're from the neighborhood.
That's right.
We just be real with it. But we just want to thank you so much for coming on, Brother Art, man. We appreciate it. And everybody go watch his show on iHeart, his podcast. What's it called again? Say the name, how they can find your show.
The Green Line. So it's like the blue line, but it's the green line.
Green line and iHeart.
I want to do a Spanish version and just call it La Línea Verde.
Hey, we have hey, brother Art, hey, we have a Spanish show too, brother. I want to get you on our Spanish show too sometime.
Yeah, I mean, hey, anytime, man. You guys can get me on. And you know what? Honestly, Spanish is my first language, to be honest. Right. But I mean, when I speak Spanish, I think Spanish. When I speak English, I think in English. I want to thank you guys for having me on. And I hope to catch up with you guys sometime.
All right.
Maybe there's an event in the near future that we may be able to see each other soon. I don't know. I gotta be quiet about that for now.
I know what it is, brother. I'll call you.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So
I know what it is. I got it, bro. So I'll probably see you there, brother.
Hopefully, I get to see you there. It'd be great. And obviously, you guys can catch me on Instagram at my official page. You guys send me questions, send me wherever. I always answer. At night when I get home, whether I'm tired or not, bro, I look through my entire Instagram page and I make sure that I take the time to answer people's questions because I think it's important.
All right. It's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
Shout out to brother Adrian for producing the show, man, and good looking out. Thank you for everything you do, brother Art, man. We love you.
Hey, thank you, guys. Dios me los bendiga a todos. Gracias.
Have yourself a good night. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right.